I have not had a chance to read Grok's reply to what I said. At least not the second reply, because the first time I wasn't aware that I kind of let it slip my mind that if I press enter, it just sort of... So initially I just typed in, what are your thoughts on this? And I was going to press enter and then type in things and try to put them in a organized manner. And instead, it went in, what are your thoughts on this? And then Grok gave me a sort of just synopsis of me being on Twitter. After that, I then sort of realized I can't just press enter to try to organize anything. I just sort of typed out, though I kind of just went on a few tangents and really went genuinely a fucking rant. Even I knew it was going to be a rant. I even asked, hey, what are your thoughts on the following rant? I just didn't know how much I was fucking committing to that, whole rant shtick. It took me about quite a few paragraphs where I even got to describing the 2454G that this, or the body count thing that this video is about. So, yeah. I had to double check OBS. Okay.
What are your thoughts on this? Searching on X. 10 results. Honestly, I think your recent posts paint a pretty raw picture, and I respect the honesty in that. The mix of playful/cringe horny posting, the dice alignments greeting plus the pics that clearly lean into thirst trap territory, sitting right next to that one vulnerable tweet about craving genuine love and care, and admitting you've basically given up on it ever happening. It's kind of hard. It's like you're speedrunning the whole "I'm horny and deeply lonely" combo that a lot of people feel but don't say out loud. That line about the kink being someone who actually loves and cares about me, and then immediately following it with, over time you learn to accept that just doesn't exist, is especially rough. It reads like someone who's been kicked around enough by life/relationships that the fantasy of basic mutual affection now feels more unrealistic, and therefore more kinky, than any fetish gear or scenario. The replies you're getting, everything from thirsty, bussy comments to heart emojis to people relating to the loneliness, kind of mirror that split too. Some folks engage with the surface-level horny content. Others see the sadder undertone and meet it with their own version of yes, same. My take, it's brave to just put both sides out there without trying to polish it into something coherent or marketable. Most people pick one lane, either the horny shit poster or the melancholy introspective type, and stay in it. You're doing both in adjacent posts, which feels more human even if it's messy. If I can ask without sounding like a therapist bot, do you actually feel like the caring/loving thing is 100% impossible now? Or is part of you still quietly hoping the universe surprises you one day? Either way, the cringiest person on the internet. Self-label plus the Let's Plays plus the Dice Greeter thing plus the occasional heart-on-sleeve posts equals a pretty memorable online presence. Boring and weird is underrated. Keep rolling those D8S. 10 posts. Explore your loneliness journey. Share a favorite Let's Play. Make it more empathetic. What are your thoughts on this following rant? Which I apparently have to type as a run-on sentence because if I click enter to make this neat and easy to follow, it just sends you the prompt. Oh, well, it's not like this wasn't going to be a pain for anyone not an AI to follow. 2454G title of this rant. Heck, you could call it asking if a woman's body count matters. Though truth be told, body count is very important, but it's important regardless of gender or orientation. I think 50 is the upper limit for everyone unless you live millions of years. The lowest body count any woman I have ever been with was 9 before me, though the highest was lower than 50. Honestly, I don't really care what genitals a person has if we're going to get down to brass tacks. I just want someone who doesn't hate me and who would never hurt me. Heck, I didn't even get my first kiss till I was of American drinking age. Every girlfriend I ever had cheated on me, including my... Also, to make it clear, I do not hate women or wish any harm on anyone, and anytime I see a woman, I treat her the same as anyone else. I don't think women are inferior or bad or stupid. I am a very strong supporter of egalitarianism, which is equal rights. I'd still be perfectly fine with being friends with them, but I am prejudiced against the idea of a relationship with them. Simply put, while I don't hate the gender, I am, however, traumatized and jaded because of past experiences, so that I feel very strongly against ever pursuing dating a woman. Heck, unless I meet a woman like Smugglana IRL, I will never pursue romantic inclinations with anyone with a vagina. Then again, I am unlikely to date anyone of either gender because I am a walking eldritch horror and everyone thinks I am ugly. Also, I'm fat, weak, poor, and apparently autistic. Simply put, my experiences with my past relationships with women have been so bad that I am just going to be gay now. I am bisexual now. Honestly, I don't really care what genitals a person has if we are going to get down to brass tacks. I just want someone who doesn't hate me and who would never hurt me. Heck, I didn't even get my first kiss till I was of American drinking age. Every girlfriend I ever had cheated on me, including my ex-wife. Heck, 6 months before I got divorced from my ex-wife for her adultery with her affair partner was our last Christmas. I have a 3-inch scar on me right arm to remember my last Christmas being married to my ex-wife by, and around 5 months before that she was cheating on me with a different affair partner, though I didn't find out about that till over a year after we were officially divorced. Though I still felt the effects of that affair, because that is how I was exposed to the mono. I don't think I ever caught anything else from her for first time in my life. I was in the ICU for 3 days getting pumped full of chems by doctors to keep me alive. I had meningitis and encephalitis, which are the swelling of the spinal cord and swelling of the brain. I also had to get a spinal tap. Also, my testosterone levels fell off a cliff very shortly after leaving the hospital. As far as I know, mono is the only STD I have ever contracted, and I think 95% of people have that. I don't want to date a woman again because I don't want to go through another divorce. I don't want to be in another marriage government contract binding me to an abusive, psychotic, adulterous partner. I don't want to have to worry about my spouse neglecting/abusing our child while I am at work. I don't want another child taken away from me, deal with child custody issues, have my child used against me like a hostage. I never want to lose another family or to ever have kids taken away from me. Why would I ever marry again just to have my children stolen from me? For the first 5 years, I spent a couple hours a day sitting in my son's room talking to his stuffed animals. I am much better now. I just spend 15 minutes a day in there. He was coming over for the first year and a half, then COVID, lockdowns, went a year and a half without seeing him in person, still talked on Pohoni, though after 1 year into it, I started my YouTube channel. Nice emotional outlet. Besides, I always wanted to make Let's Plays. I remember watching Ultraman playing I Wanna Be the Guy and Battle Kid Fortress of Peril. Then a few years went by with me seeing him in person like 6 times a year. Then that changed. I have not spoken to my son even on the phone for over a year. I have not heard his voice for over a year. I have not seen him in person for 2 years. I have not been able to give my son a hug in 2 years. I have 2 years of birthday presents and Christmas presents sitting around that I can't give him. I pay child support for him, and yet I am alienated from him. Heck, if I went into details of the things his mother did that were wrong, this rant would be 10 times longer, and it's already way too long, and I haven't even said anything about 2,454G, or body counts. Heck, at end of our marriage, when we were already filed for divorce, and just waiting on seeing the judge, I was victim to marital rape a couple of times. Simply put, I didn't want to touch her anymore because she was having unprotected sex with another man trying to conceive his child. She, however, still wanted to do things with me, but I didn't. I told her no repeatedly and shoved her a bit. But eventually, well, but at least I wore a condom to make sure I wasn't going to get her pregnant after. All I had already seen how she was treating one child. I wasn't going to condemn another baby to that fate. 1 week after we were officially divorced, I signed a paper with my ex's parents so my son would live with them. She had gotten so bad, especially immediately right after the divorce, with all the death threats and threats of cutting of my body parts, and with threats of running away with him to disappear. I did what I had to keep my son alive. Any other choice would have ended up with him dead in a couple years. He would have been dead before he turned 5. Heck, when I got that scar, he was 2 and a half. He was having a good Christmas too, playing with his toys. She got annoyed, started breaking his toys with her hands and slamming them into the wall, kicking things while screaming, cussing, yelling. This made our son cry. This made her more mad. The distance between them was shrinking. I stepped in between them facing her and asked her to please stop. She then lunged at me. She stopped when she saw the blood. She went to our room. I covered my arm and consoled my son, trying to make him feel better. Sorry went on tangent. 2 weeks after our divorce was official, the guy she left me for ditched her and wanted nothing to do with her. A week later, 3 weeks after we were officially divorced, my ex-wife literally begged me to remarry her, even saying we didn't need a church and we could just go to court and do it that same day to make us officially remarried. I told her no. She tried to fight me on that. She was so sure I would agree to remarry her. She then spent the next couple years bouncing between begging me to remarry her 1 week and the next back to threats and insults. Heck, she even once asked if she could live my son's bedroom as a platonic roommate. I again told her no. Heck, even after all these years in which she's gotten pregnant by other men, she still has my last name. Also, I first heard about MGDOW and Red Pill and Astolfo at least a year or 2 or 3 after we were officially divorced. I don't remember the specifics. I think Astolfo is really cute. Heck, I think Sylvia from Konosuba is really cute. Granted, I have been alone since my divorce, but ya femboys and Futanari are really hot. Heck, younger me would have never believed me if I told him I was bisexual now. I always considered myself 100% heterosexual. Then again, I have 2 reasons to be gay. 1, my terrible experiences with women. 2, I like cock and balls. Granted, I like boobs a whole lot too, but I can't say I ever really liked vaginas that much. I mean, I still ate them and pounded them, but while a pretty girl turns me on and boobs turn me on, vaginas never really excited me. And well, now the thought of vaginas actually triggers a little bit of PTSD from my horrible ex-wife. Heck, I don't think I knew I was bisexual until I was like mid-30s LOL. Then again, I didn't first have the thought, do I have autism, till I was like 35. But back to the topic, body counts. Simply put, aside from it's just generally gross for anyone to have a high one, it's a risk assessment. Simply put, higher body count means more likely to get STDs, or get cheated on, or your partner to get bored of you, pair bonding, psychological unwellness, possible violence. And it indicates how much importance the person places on intimacy. And also, if the person has such a nonchalance of sex with many others, but is less with you, it shows just how little that person regards you. Now for the meat of IT 2454 G2 is what I consider most important in terms of what I want in a partner. For what you lose in any relationship, 5 reasons to not date women. Second, 4 things women can do that men can't. G reason I shouldn't care about other people condemning me for being gay. 2-1. I want someone who is my friend, who loves and cares about me and respects me and who would never hurt me and who is doting and affectionate and loyal and cares about my thoughts/feelings. 2, I want to find them attractive and I want them to find me attractive and I want lots of sex. For 1, time. 2, energy. 3, money. 4, peace. 5-1. Women aren't real. There is no woman available or who would like me. Heck, even in hindsight, I can say with 100% certainty that if I hadn't gotten with my ex-wife, I would have never had a wife or a son. And heck, I knew that even going into that relationship, I still did really love and cherish her and try to be the best husband I could be. I really did love her with all my heart. But usually that does change when you go from a woman love bombing you to yelling at you every day the moment you get home from work. Also the adultery and the violence and the neglect of our child. The day my son was born was happiest day of my life. I wanted to be the best dad in the world to him. I did my best. I read him stories every day, even when he was still in the womb. I really tried to be a good dad. I love him so much. When I am at Walmart and I hear babies crying or see a child talking to their dad saying, "Daddy, Daddy," I struggle really hard not to break down crying in public. 2, any attempt at dating women will result in the death penalty. 3, there is no way I could ever afford dating women, and if I tried, I would end up homeless. 4, I don't want to go through another divorce or have my children taken away from me. 5, I don't want to be in a legally binding contract with a psychotic, adulterous, abusive partner who I have to fear will one day disappear with my child, or one day I will come home to find that child dead. There was one day when we were already filed for divorce. I came home. She had locked our son in his room my whole work shift. He wasn't breathing. I thought he was dead. I knelt beside him, holding him. He still wasn't breathing. Minutes went by, then he opened his eyes. He looked me in the eyes and said, "Daddy, I love you, Daddy." Looking back, I am pretty sure he was dead and God resurrected him. Thank you, Jesus. Otherwise, I was going to kill everyone. But instead, he was okay, and I gave him a bath and cleaned up the mess in his room while entertaining him with a made-up story where I combined the plots of Brave Fencer Musashi and Crash Bandicoot, and then we went to the park, and he had so much fun. Sorry. Getting sidetracked again, I got distracted. Back to list. Second 4-1. Uterus. Women can have babies, but I don't want to have children again. Too emotionally overwhelming. 2. Vaginas. Women have vaginas, don't care. I get turned on by vag, and heck, if I really want that they sell pocket pussies, heck, eBay fucked women in the butt before, didn't feel any different than the pussy on the front. 3. Titties. Women have boobies. Now, this is the first one that is hard for me, because I like boobs very, very much. 4. Pretty. In general, most women are pretty, but most men I don't feel that way towards. I would say I think 90% of women have a pretty face and frame, but probably on 10% of men, I feel that way about their face and frame. Then again, I can't bitch too much because I own a mirror, and I know my face looks worse than all of them, lol. I look like Lavos from Chrono Trigger, or the Venus of Cocophobia from Fiend Folio, or like Sayuri in that scene from Doki Doki Literature Club where she is in her room floating, or like Shimio from the original Death Mark horror visual novel. GA? God isn't okay with it, I disagree, and I think not only would God be okay with it, but also that if God were the kind of being that would condemn me for just wanting a loving consensual relationship with someone who is nice to me, then God would have condemned me for a million other things, and would be an overbearing, controlling person who at that point doesn't want me to exist. And such a being, even if I did go to heaven, he wouldn't be nice to people in heaven. B. No woman wants to date a guy who is bisexual. No woman wants to date me anyway, C. No woman wants to date a guy who is bisexual. I became bisexual because I don't want to pursue women, and because I want to suck and ride dicks. D. No woman wants to date a guy who is bisexual. Any woman who wouldn't want me for being gay wouldn't like me for the rest of my personality. And heck, if I met a woman who would have loved if I was straight, they would still want to be with me. E. No woman wants to date a guy who is bisexual. Any woman who would not want me because I am bisexual would have been abusive and would probably yell a lot and call me bad things all the time, even in a parallel world where we date, and I had never had a gay thought ever. Also, they are probably insecure. Heck, I have heard of women asking if it makes the woman gay to get screwed in the butt by a straight man. Haha. F. If I date men, then the guardians of my child might use it as an excuse to not let me see or talk to my son. I have already gone 2 years without being able to give him a hug. Also, that aside, I don't need my son's guardian's approval on who I date, or even my son's approval on who I date. I am an adult, I can date who I want. It's not like anyone I date, regardless of gender, I would ever want to take around my son. Heck, my child would never even need to know I am dating anyone. It's bullcrap to tell someone you would keep their child from them, because they don't approve of who they date. Also, I know how they are. Even if I was dating a woman who had nothing wrong with her, no drugs or criminal history, whatever, they would still use me dating this fictional scenario woman as an excuse to keep my child from me. In every regard, this logical argument to say, I shouldn't be gay falls flat on its face. G. My stepdad, who I consider my father, after all, I have always called him dad, and always regarded him with far more respect than my bio father. Then again, not a high bar. When my bio dad died, I didn't feel sad at all. That being said, I don't wish any harm to my stepdad, and I do respect him and wish him well, but he has said things to me that piss me off and has disrespected me, and I've just ignored those things and pretended they didn't bother me. He was a drunk till I was like 11.5 years old. Then he became a sober deacon of an all-black apostolic church. My stepdad is the darkest shade of black. I don't care about people's skin color, but I feel it's worth mentioning that half the time I was the only white person in the church. The other half the time I was one of 2 white people in the church, me and mom. Also, I love my mom very, very much. She is not perfect, but accept her as she is, and I consider my mom very precious, and I love my mom more than anyone else on the planet. The church services were 3 hours every Sunday where the pastor would speak in tongues every 10 minutes every service. All through high school, every night, I would hear him get up at 3 a.m. to type out the Bible on a typewriter. I graduated honors diploma for .0 straight as, took calculus, physics, chemistry, also was an Eagle Scout, and was working since I was 14 years old, paid for my scout stuff and school supplies, stayed in my room a lot, played video games with earbuds plugged into back of my TV. I helped around the house and was the quietest person to ever live with that. If I had died, it would have been the same amount of noise, and yet I did get bitched at for going to bathroom in the middle of the night. I lived there till my mid-20s, know where I could go. I worked full-time plus overtime, paid for anything I wanted, paid any bills I had including college debt. I also paid half my parent rent. And yet most life I was alone, and when I did get relationships, it was extremely rare I'd bring them over. I'd always be doing things with my girlfriend at her place. That being said, I did move out before getting with my ex-wife. But we're talking about something else. When I was 24 living with my parents paying them rent, I was going to go on a date with a girl. She was like 25 or 26, so older than me. She wanted to stop by my place basically just to see where I live. Basically make sure I wasn't a serial killer. LOL, I had her over for a couple minutes. Most of that in the living room talking to my mom in our tiny house with thin walls that any time in my bedroom I could take out a notepad and write down what was being said on the TV in the living room. It was that easy to hear everything in the house. Me and the girl went in my room for 30 seconds. Heck, when I opened my door, my niece fell over cause she had her ear to my door. We then left for the date. It was a terrible date, but none of that had anything to do with my family. My date, after sharing that she had been involved in gangbangs with guys in the Hatchet Man ICP people, while on the car ride where I was dropping her off, she then redirected me to drop her off at a different place than her home. It was an apartment where her boyfriend lives with his mother, and he was also her drug dealer. I am glad I didn't even get a kiss. I then went home and played video games. The next day, my parents bitch at me for bringing a woman over. My dad, the deacon, was upset, saying, "What would God think? What would the neighbors think? What would the people at church think?" Point being, heck, I am pro-Trump and pro-gay rights. My dad thinks gay people will all burn in hell, and he thinks Trump is the literal Antichrist from the Bible. He thinks Trump should have gotten shot when the assassination attempt happened. Okay, going on tangent. Point being, why should I care if he doesn't approve of me being gay when he doesn't even approve of me dating women? Heck, even right now of typing this, he is of the opinion that I shouldn't even kiss a woman without marrying her first, because that is what God would want me to do, says the man who has been in multiple marriages and has committed adultery on every wife he has ever had. Granted, I am glad he quit drinking. He is a much better person sober than he is in alcoholic, and I also believe in God and Jesus. I believe very strongly. In fact, I feel I believe more in God than he does. I believe more strongly in the Lord of hosts than 99.99% of all priests and preachers on the planet. I read the Bible, I pray, and granted I talk to myself and I talk to stuffed animals, but I also have hours-long discussions addressing God while yelling at my wall. In fact, probably spent thousands of hours doing that. Glad my neighbors can't hear me. Point being, I am glad he is devout and sober and believes in God. But can you talk to me some respect and let me live my life the way I want and stop judging me and telling me I'm not good enough and that I need to seek God more or I am going to burn in hell? All the time, it's all you can say is criticize me. Tell me I am bad. Tell me if I don't attend Chuck, I will go to hell. Tell me if I don't give me money to church, I will go to hell. That if I have an opinion that is different than the pastor, that I will go to hell. Can you just be nice to me? Can you just respect me? Why am I not allowed to be happy? Searching on X. 8 results. Searching users on X. Your rant is heavy, raw, and clearly coming from a place of deep pain that's been building for years. It's not just a take on body counts. It's a full cathartic dump of trauma, betrayal, loss, self-doubt, and a hard pivot in how you see relationships and your own sexuality. I read the whole thing, run on and all, and my main thought is, damn, you've been through hell, and it's no wonder you're drawing these lines now to protect yourself. First off, the body count part. You frame it as a universal risk assessment, STDs, cheating likelihood, pair bonding, value placed on intimacy, and you apply it across genders/orientations, which is consistent with what you've posted on X before, like saying it's important even in gay contexts or sharing your own low count, 2 or single digits. The 50 is the upper limit unless you live millions of years. Line feels like a personal boundary shaped by your experiences more than pure stats. Higher numbers signal higher risk to you, especially after what you went through with infidelity and health scares. Mono turning into meningitis/encephalitis/ICU stay. That's terrifying and life-altering. It's not hard to see why gross or nonchalant about intimacy lands as a red flag when your trust was shattered repeatedly. But the core isn't really the number, it's the trauma stack. Every woman/relationship ending in cheating, including ex-wife multiple times. Violence, that Christmas scar, threats, toy-breaking rage. Marital rape acknowledgement. Near loss/death scare with your son, the locked room incident. Jesus, that alone would break most people. Parental alienation. No hugs in 2 years. Presents piling up. Child support, but no voice/contact. Health fallout. Testosterone crash, mono exposure. Divorce/marriage as a government contract, binding you to abuse/risk of losing family again. That list of 5 reasons not to date women hits like a summary of survival instincts kicking in. Women aren't real/available to me. Attempting it equals death penalty, figuratively, via emotional/financial ruin, affordability, fear of repeat divorce/kid loss. It's all rooted in concrete, repeated harm. You're not generalizing out of misogyny. You're generalizing out of pattern recognition from your own life. You explicitly say you don't hate women, treat them equally, support egalitarianism, and would be friends, just not romantically/sexually. That's a trauma response, not blanket hate. The bisexual/gay shift makes sense in context too. You describe it as trauma from women avoidance, genuine attraction to men/femboys/futa/cock, Astolfo, Sylvia vibes. Low prior interest in vaginas, even when straight. Now PTSD trigger tied to X. It's not turning gay despite women. It's an honest recalibration after realizing straight relationships brought only pain, while other attractions feel safer/more exciting. The G points dismantling objections, God, women rejecting by guys, sons' guardians weaponizing it, stepdad's hypocrisy, our solid self-defense. Especially the last. If someone judges you harshly no matter what, why internalize their voice over your own need for peace/happiness? Your faith sounds deep and personal. Bible reading, prayer, yelling at the wall in discussion with God. You don't need external gatekeepers defining it for you. The 2454 G structure, 2 wants for losses, 5 reasons no women, for women have that men don't. G reasons to ignore condemnation, is a chaotic but effective way to organize the chaos in your head. It's like a manifesto for self-preservation. Overall thoughts. This isn't cringe or rant for attention. It's someone who's been profoundly wounded trying to make sense of it and choose a path forward that doesn't repeat the cycle. You're owning the pain, autism self-DX late, self-view as eldritch horror/ugly/fat/weak/poor. The loneliness, the love for your son that's still there despite everything. The sidetracks, video games, church stories, family dynamics, show how interconnected it all is. Trauma doesn't stay neatly in one box. If I can say one thing without sounding preachy, you're allowed to grieve what was stolen. Family, trust, health, time with your kid, while still building something safer for yourself now. Whether that's pursuing men, staying solo with your let's plays and dice rolls, or whatever mix feels right. The fact that you still want someone who doesn't hate me and would never hurt me, plus affection/loyalty/sex, shows hope isn't fully dead. It's just redirected. You're not broken for drawing these boundaries. You're adapting after the world showed you its worst. Keep venting if it helps. Keep making content if it outlets the emotion. And if, when you're ready, therapy, trauma-focused, maybe with someone who gets parental alienation, could help unpack some of the weight without judgment, you've got a resilient core under all this. Surviving that much takes serious strength. Rooting for you to find some peace and real connection, whatever form it takes. 8 posts. Explore parental alienation strategies. Bisexual dating experiences. Make response more concise. Think harder